Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe here with the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer demo, and I'm bringing you this one post-commentary, very little editing if any at all, and it's just going to be a match basically in its entirety. Going to try to do some play-by-play as well as deliver some opinions on my overall feelings of this gameplay. And honestly, I was avoiding the Mass Effect 3 demo. You all know me, I love Mass Effect. I have it pre-ordered. I've beaten 1 and 2, and they're probably one of my favorite games or one of my favorite franchises of all time. And I've just basically been avoiding the demo because I didn't really want to spoil anything for when the game comes out and I just really sink myself into it. But I thought to myself, you know what, I'm not going to do the single player, I'm just going to do the multiplayer co-op and just check it out. And so far I have to say, pleasantly surprised as I get hit in the face by this AI here, but he's about to get some himself. Loving the animations, really well done there. And it looks great, it runs very smooth. It seems like even though that they use the Unreal Engine over and over again, the game just gets better looking with time. And I have to hand it to BioWare. They know how to really just use that Unreal Engine to their highest ability. So down with a wave there as we roll in. Now again, playing with strangers isn't my ideal situation. But luckily I've been playing with some really good players lately when I do get into a game. They seem to know what they're doing, and as you'll see in this game, most of the time I think they end up saving my ass a few times at least. Frag in there. We got one down as we're trying to hold off these waves. Now, the other thing I have to say is that, yes, apparently there's been a lot of debate about Mass Effect having multiplayer. A lot of people were complaining about it or thinking that they didn't want it or that they shouldn't be in the game. I'm not sure why that is, considering that you're going to get your single-player Mass Effect. It's going to be great. And then on top of that, here's a multiplayer mode if you want to play it. You don't have to play it. You know, nobody's holding a gun to your head, but you know what? Honestly, it's just, you know, something to keep you busy when you beat the game or whatever after your multiple playthroughs of it. And it's actually really good. It's simplistic so far. It's just survival mode basically. But honestly, out of all the survival mode multiplayer games that I've ever played, this is, you know, hands down some of the best. It just seems really tight, responsive, balanced. It does require teamwork. It's very challenging and difficult. You know, you got the bronze, silver, and gold modes to play through. And even the bronze mode, which this is actually a bronze mode, is fairly challenging. The AI making good use of cover, you know, use of melee when it comes down to it. Various types of opponents that you got to come up across each wave. You know, if you don't play as a cohesive team, you're basically gonna lose. And as you can see here, there's a good example of just the opponents focusing on those targets, and the game really lets you know where your objectives are at, and it just seems to work, you know, without being on voice communication here, just playing with complete strangers, which is basically the best example that there ever can be. Because playing with strangers is usually like the last thing you want to do. You usually want to be on Ventrilo or TeamSpeak with your friends. But I was pleasantly surprised that, not being on any type of communication, we're just able to, complete our tasks because the game just, lets us know where everything is. And the levels, so far, out of the 2 levels that are in this demo, are built in a way that you're not getting lost or anything. You're not usually split up from your teammates for too long, and there's a lot of good cover to use. It just works. I mean, that's as much as I can keep talking about it. It just works, and I think BioWare did an excellent job with it, especially for it being their first multiplayer component in the Mass Effect franchise. Now, I don't specifically know. I haven't done too much research on, the future of this multiplayer. I don't know if it's only going to be a survival mode. I don't know if they're going to add any other gameplay modes or ways to really get into it. It'd be interesting if you could, in theory, play Mass Effect cooperatively, kind of like you play Star Wars the Old Republic, and you know, play it with a friend and go through storyline and have dialogue and stuff. I mean, that's our ideal dream. We all you know, think that Mass Effect could easily be an MMO one day, but it's kind of tough considering that at this point BioWare would then be competing with their own other MMO, which is obviously Star Wars. But anyway, enough of that. As you can see here, dealing with more waves, the enemies just getting more difficult as you progress, fighting various types of AI. You've got, you know, the guys with the shields and engineers and obviously something a little bit bigger later on. And they are out to get you. You really got to use the cover, and BioWare definitely puts an emphasis on that system. Here we go with that shotgun. Great for close quarter battle as I roll in through these areas here. Shields don't last very long. I don't really have too many upgrades. Again, I've only been really playing this demo for, I want to say 2 or 3 days, but very off and on, so my guy's actually not leveled up. I really don't have any armor mods or anything like that. So kind of using the basic stuff. Very low level character here. However, a couple of my buddies here are fairly well equipped. We can see, I believe there's another soldier there with like an assault rifle, letting them have it. I am obviously playing the soldier here. Haven't really tried any of the other classes yet as we roll up this ladder. Now, this is actually one of the few games where we managed to hold on for a good duration. We're on wave 5 at this point. I don't believe in any other game I had made it even past the 5th wave, so we'll see how this turns out. Once again, taking cover, we got some shielded enemies there. Really good, actually, if you could get a sniper rifle and kind of shoot through the slit of the shield. That's definitely the way to go. I remember doing it once. I'm definitely not the greatest sniper, so I remember changing it up and kind of going with the shotgun this round just to switch things around a bit. Basically not the way to shoot at these guys as I'm doing right here, so definitely don't want to do that. And one of the things I'm kind of making a mistake with, too, that I'm noticing is that I was using the shift menu to select a few of my abilities. When I don't need to do that, I can just use the numbers on the keyboard to just, you know, just quick slot the abilities like grenades and concussive round and things like that. But I eventually realized, like, oh, wake up, you know, and just I kind of figure out that I need to be doing that towards the end of the game. It's one of those things where you're out of practice, you just kind of forget things sometimes, and you're used to playing this game single player where if you hold shift, it pauses the game, and then you have to realize, like, well, when you're playing with other people, there's not much pausing going on, so gotta use those quick keys a lot to kind of use your class's specific abilities. Otherwise, it's just a basic shooter if you're not taking advantage of that stuff. Wave 6. Now hack the computer. This is another nice example of some of the objectives that you get. In a lot of games with survival mode, you just have constant waves of enemies. It's like, okay, next wave, next wave. But I was interested to see that they were giving me specific objectives here, like this, where we had to hack this terminal here, which basically meant just hang out in this area that's designated by this perimeter graphic or effect. And we just had to hold this line, so we had to kind of get into this building, and they were coming from all sides. Totally intense. Here I'm like, oh man, we're pretty screwed. And I know here I probably should have thrown a grenade. There we go. And another frag coming in, actually, and taking me out. I'm like, oh crap. Gotta slam that spacebar to kind of keep yourself alive. And there we go. Revival inbound. And you can see how the objective just naturally puts everybody together. Makes everything really intense. And if you can just hold, you know, maybe 2 by 2, covering fire on each side, you could probably hold it down pretty well. You could imagine playing on voice communication that this could be even more incredible. And I'm sure most of you actually do play that way, so probably nothing new to you. And there's this guy right behind me. I'm like, oh, that's bad. But we managed to take him out with a couple of hits there. Still just taking down the remnants. I believe the objective has been completed there. Racking up a couple of achievements or medals there as well. Basically just waiting for my shields to recharge. Low on life. Gotta get used to checking your 6, watching your back a lot, because there'll be a lot of opponents that just be right behind you. Like, it seems to happen to me multiple times. Here we go for a couple of hits. Also got some backup. That guy is still alive. As you can see, I was having a little bit of trouble there with the controls. I was accidentally taking cover when I meant to hit, so happens. It does tend to happen a lot more in games where there's a cover mechanic. And we're heading back here to Rearm. Wave 7. As we go through here, how far can we go? More inbound opponents. And like I said, I love the challenge. As you may have seen from a few of my other gaming videos, I had been complaining lately about video games that have been releasing that just don't seem to have much challenge lately. The AI is usually easy or stupid, or it's just, you know, just a simple point and shoot game where you live too long, you take many hits before you can die. You know, you got auto regenerating health, and basically the games are just simplistically easy. Now, while we're fighting this mech here, I don't want to take too much attention away from that awesome thing, but my point is, even though there is regenerative shields in this and whatnot, the challenge is so tough. You really can't take too many hits, you know, and the emphasis is on cover and playing with your group. Now, you'll notice if I'm by myself in this game, compared to being with my friends out there, you know, my survivability rate is way less. And as you can see, I'm not doing so hot here. Trying to just hold out on my own. I'm basically by myself, and I do seem to hold my own here for a little bit. I'm a little worried, because once you're out of those shields, you can be in some big trouble. And yes, I am a lower level character, but it is a good example of how you don't want to be alone. So, again, it's just, I love the challenge, and I like seeing another developer bring challenge back into the online arena. So as far as survival goes, this is definitely, you know, where it's at as far as like a good new modern day shooter, and I really do enjoy it. Holding out here, taking some cover, letting those shields regen. We're just trying to get through some of these opponents here, some of the riffraff remaining. And once again, using that menu that I didn't need to do, I kind of got my buttons up top left that I think eventually I start to realize. I'm trying to go for this person here, but he manages to revive himself. I think he used the meta gel to bring himself back up. Right now, just trying to utilize some of this cover. Look at this guy climbing up the ladder, putting it into him there. Could have used the shotgun or maybe some melee moves. Now, it'll be interesting to see how many multiplayer modes are included in the launch version of the game, how many maps we get, variations of the gameplay, perhaps. I could expect there will be a lot of DLC, as pretty much Mass Effect's had a good amount of DLC. At least Mass Effect 2 has had a good amount of DLC over the duration of its release, so I can expect with there being a multiplayer mode like this, probably going to be a good variety of it. Hopefully there's a lot of character creation, customizations. I like always being able to change the looks and whatnot. It was cool that you could basically colorize yourself in any way you want. There's a few patterns later on that I guess you have to unlock, which is also cool. Customization is always key in any game. The ability to do that to a character, you know, just it's the same thing like an MMO. People are addicted to customization. As we go into Wave 9, this is definitely the farthest that I have been in this Mass Effect 3 co-op. As you can see, we got a couple new enemies showing up. It looks like some sort of engineers at this point, and as you can usually guess, it looks like that guy's trying to put down a turret, and it basically prevented that from happening on that one at least. The turrets, once they are down, are extremely devastating. Now I have to say, one thing that I had noticed about this multiplayer when I first jumped into it was how close the character model was to, well, to the majority of the screen, basically. It does take up a lot of real estate as we engage this mech here. Finally throwing out some frags. So it was kind of annoying at first. However, it does help with being able to focus on the first-person shooter or third-person or first-person, you know, reticle once you actually zoom into it. But I have to say, I don't know, it does take up a lot of real estate. I don't know if they're going to allow you to tweak that a bit, maybe zoom out a bit more, but I guess it's good and bad. Sometimes with third-person cameras, you find it a little loose in a way, I guess I'm trying to say, in that the camera feels like it's, you know, not stuck to you enough. And I guess in this mode, it does feel pretty tight to the characters. So using the shooter controls, you know, making it feel like a hybrid first-person / third-person game. They've done a pretty good job with that. But, you know, I definitely want everybody else's opinions, too, while we're going through this. What do you think of the gameplay? What do you think, you know, of the third-person controls? What do you think of third-person shooters in general? Do you like them? Do you prefer, you know, I prefer FPS, typically. But for Mass Effect, I really don't mind so much because I'm not looking for realism with this game. Whereas, you know, with a game like Battlefield or Arma, I might be looking for realism. But when it comes to science fiction and things like this, I'm not necessarily too worried about it. As this mech's like, yeah, you think I can't fit in there? I can. And here he comes. And just trying to roll some shotgun rounds at him, and that's not actually working. Probably a bad idea. There's a fatal mistake of mine, again, using that stupid menu interface with the shift, which I shouldn't be doing, and I am dying. I'm thinking at this point, oh boy, is this one going to be over with? Because I don't think I'll be coming back from this one. And really, I don't blame any of my friends for not wanting to revive me here, because it's basically a bad situation to be in. That mech is just still rolling through here. As you go. Now, here's this guy with his assault rifle who's just hosing that mech. Definitely doesn't have to worry about ammo as much as I did with mine. It's basically down to this guy alone. He needs to take this mech out. If he doesn't, we lose. Taking some massive hits there. He is obviously a higher level player. And he does have some upgrades, so he is able to stay alive a little bit longer. Look at that weapon just firing out. I'm sure that he's probably lower on accuracy, if that's an example of the weapon that I used to use in Mass Effect 2, single player. And he does it. Basically saving the entire team like a boss. Wave 10, ladies and gentlemen. Eliminate all targets. Refit on some ammo here. Letting them have it. While we're at it, ladies and gents, don't forget to comment, like, and favorite this video if you're enjoying it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the main SideStrafe channel. It's going to keep you up to date on the latest and greatest in terms of my gaming and airsoft videos. I'm always going to give you digital entertainment with standards because you deserve it. Don't we all? But anyway, back to the game here. Just kind of holding the line here back towards our insertion point. Staying near some of the ammunition. Starting to also realize that I don't have to hold shift to throw grenades and things like that. I feel real silly about that, but definitely a big noob mistake on my part. Just trying to use some of that cover, throw those frags out. A lot of them at this point, just kind of picking some of my targets. We're losing people left and right too, if you notice it. But they just keep getting revived. At least I'm not doing that horrible. I've died a couple of times, but I'm managing to keep my life up for the most part. Once I get hit, just running back for some cover, grab some ammo on the way. you kind of have to take the time to survey the area. It's really easy to just get kind of bottlenecked and have that tunnel vision where you're focusing on one point, and then you literally need to turn around, realize that your teammates are missing, or that they're somewhere else, or that the target is coming up on your flank. And it's like, oh yeah, wait, I actually need to take care of that. And there's an engineer laying down a turret. He's laid it out, unfortunately. I'm thinking here, like, okay, throw out... Concussive round's not going to do anything against the turret, but threw a frag out too. But it's got a lot of armor still, so it's still up. And this guy's just hitting me here. Time to get into some melee. Love the fighting. I don't think I'll ever get tired of those animations. And I'm down. But it looks like all targets were still eliminated there. Getting some bonuses there as well. I'm dying, punching on that spacebar to keep myself alive. See, it still keeps you in the game, I guess. It kind of gives you something that you can do. And doesn't look like I'm going to make it. You know what that means. It's up to somebody else to save us. It looks like this time we may have 2 characters still in the fight. Hopefully they can bring it back. Yep, we've got 2 in. Laying down the fire. Loving the muzzle flare on the weapons too. Good animations. Sound effects are pretty good. Real solid gameplay. It just feels good. You feel really just attached to the game, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Rolling in. It's always the nerve-wracking part. It's like, come on, we're on these final waves here. Keep it going. Boom, nice shot there. This person's loading up on that sniper rifle. Very lethal. If you're good with the sniper rifle in this, you can definitely decimate some of these AI. Like I said, though, however, I am not so hot on my aiming. As we continue to spectate, they're just going through these enemies here. There aren't many games these days where there's actual spectator modes. If you recall, back in the day, we used to play games where you'd be killed and there'd be no respawning, and you would just, like, you know, Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six, games like that, where you would just get to, you know, time to spectate. And this is kind of it's interesting to see, just like, okay, if you're out, time to spectate unless somebody brings you back. And it's kind of nice to see that again, kind of a throwback as I get stuck on this ladder and try to jump down. Alright, looks like we are on a final wave heading to the extraction zone. Basically need to hold the line here. 2 of us have the idea. Now the other guys are kind of outside the perimeter. I'm not sure that you actually need to be within it for the extraction, or whether it's just on a timer or not. But I'm just trying to hold out within this zone and kind of stay bunkered down. Throwing out a couple of frags there on that shielded opponent. Lets him drop the shield, opening up for some fire. Once again, we got 2 out on that perimeter. I'm just trying to hold the line down here. Taking a lot of fire, though. Frag in, trying to get in the way. I had to leave it just to avoid that frag. Concussive shot, pushing him back, but not really opening up that shield much. Just shots out, just trying to clean up some of the weaker targets as well on these flanks, because that's where they're hitting us on that right side. About 39 seconds on that extraction. We got 1 down. Bringing her in for the revive. Or him, I should say. Another mech coming in with 27 seconds. It's getting heavy here. A lot of fire out. So intense. Definitely some of the most intense survival mode I have ever played. Just non-stop action. Very little downtime. Shields are hurting. Just holding down to this cover. We are basically surrounded. 5 seconds. Dropship inbound, going for a revival. Boom. Done. Mission successful. Special Forces for the win. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I hope you have enjoyed this bout of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer co-op. Obviously, the demo's out. Check it out for yourself, whether you like Mass Effect or not. If you don't, well, shame on you. Check it out, guys. I will see you on the next one.